Okay, so here we are. I told you guys that I would come back and we would continue to work on this Kincaid picture that I'm coloring from this Kincaid book that one of my best friends at work purchased for me. And so we, over the past few days, we worked on the two ponies that are in this picture. We worked on the walkway, the stone walkway that's in this picture. We worked on this grass area. And so the pen, the Sue Glitter pen that I used for this is called Glitter Peridot, I believe is how you pronounce that. It's a G32. And so what I think I'm going to do is just start back here behind the house. You can see that here we have all of this beautiful pretty green that's very similar to this color. I can color all of that in, and then right here, right around where this lavender, these two different shades of lavender are, you'll see that there's a green section here that I can color with this, and it looks like maybe, I'm gonna make sure this is right, so sometimes I compare it with what's next to it. So it looks like this is green as well. Okay, all of this is going to be lavender. All of this is lavender. And then over in here by this brown tree trunk, that's when we pick back up in here with all of this green again. Now, some of these greens are different shades. And so since I'm beginning with this sort of lighter green here, I can color everything this lighter green, and then I can fill in different places with a darker green. Okay, I think that just makes it easier instead of switching pens back and forth, so that once you get started, you get quite a lot of color put down. All right, so I'm just gonna start right here and overlook my burn. I had a burn this morning. I do my food prep on Saturdays and Sundays for the week, and then I get all of my food bowls done so that when I leave for work, and I leave super early for work, I get up around 5:20, and then I usually leave around 6:40. And so when I'm doing that, you know, one of the things that I want to do is have everything ready. All my clothes are laid out, and for the whole week I already know what I'm going to wear. I already have those laid out actually. And so I already know what I'm going to wear, and I already have my food prep bowls done. I have a lunch food prep bowl, and then I have a healthy bowl filled with fruit and maybe nuts and things like that. And so that all that is ready, and then all I have to do is grab the two bowls that I'm going to carry and put those in my little lunch bag. And then I have a work bag that I have my computer in, and my purse, and my iPad. I use my iPad to watch it at lunch during my breaks. And so I have all of that in there, and I have a blood pressure cuff because over the past few years, I've had a lot of blood pressure issues. And so have that in there. It's a really nice bag that I got off of Amazon. It's actually a nurse's bag. I think it's from Skylore or something like that. And it has, I think that thing has 50 pockets in it. So I have places for pens, notepads, I mean, everything you can possibly imagine. And I pack it all in that one bag, and I sling it across my shoulder, and everywhere I go that's like work related, that bag goes with me. And that way I have everything that I need. But back to my burn, oh my goodness, hurt so much. I wound up doing my food prep this morning, and so when I was doing my food prep this morning, I had gotten everything almost done, and so I had one eye that I had moved the pot, one of the pots off of, And I walked around, I was doing a few other things, and then I decided to clean the stove. And when I went to clean the stove, I forgot that I had that eye on, and I just wiped the whole part of my hand right here across a hot stove eye. And so I knew immediately I had burned it pretty good. And so sometimes we keep water bottles in the freezer, and we'll use those for ice packs. And so I got one of those out, and I've had it on my hand off and on ever since it happened, probably about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours ago. And I can still feel the heat on it. So after I got everything done, I put the pots into some soaking water, and my daughter did come in and wash those for me, because you know, anytime you have a burn, you just cannot put it in hot soapy water. And so she washed those for me so I wouldn't have to do that, which was really a blessing to have her do that so that I wouldn't have to do it. So here you just keep filling in this beautiful, lovely green all around the edges, and once again I'm outlining where I don't want this green. That just gives me a border to keep me from going over into these areas that I don't want that color to be in. So I have some wood right here, and I'll go back and get one of these browns, maybe this light, the same brown as the horse, the pony over here, and do the wood on these tree trunks and branches. I probably should have gone on and done that, but I didn't. So we're just gonna do what we're doing right now. Get this green filled in. And so you'll see these little places here where this is the sky coming into the green in open spaces in the leaves. So how was your work week this week? Mine was a little hectic. It's a good week, but still a little hectic. Several meetings. I took up a grading of papers for about 5 different classes. And sometimes this particular paper takes me an hour to grade for each paper. It's a paper that I sort of mark heavily because I'm trying to show students the different kinds of errors that we can find in papers, and then they get an opportunity to revise this paper and make it better and get a much better grade. And then they kind of know what their errors will be, because not every student makes the same errors. Some students will have comma splices, right? So I'll go through and mark those. Some students will have maybe lots of spelling errors, so I'll go through and mark those. Some students might have run-on few sentences, so I'll go in and mark those. And so this way, this is more specialized to exactly what each student needs. It's almost like if you went to a tutoring session, only I'm not actually tutoring them in person. I'm just writing those notes on their papers and submitting them back to the students, submitting the notes back to the students. And so it's just a nice way for me to be able to give them specialized comments, but it really does take a lot of time to do that. It takes me about an hour. Like I said, it'd be about an hour-long tutoring sessions if I met them in person to do this. And so now one thing that might help a little bit, as you can see, sometimes you can get into a situation where you have your line right here, and then you forget where all of the lines were. So if you go ahead and outline some of this, it will help you to keep these lines a little bit straighter for you, so that you're not coloring something blue that should be green, or something green that should be blue. Because I have done that in some of the paintings that I've done, because sometimes these little lines can really start blending in together when you're working on these. And so this is the little outline here of this tree. Right, we're all around this chimney right here. So all of this is going to be green. Go all the way around it. And it will just keep you straight later. What here is sky, and what is actually your green leaves in your tree. And all of this that I'm coloring around, these little places here, these will be white and blue. Okay, so that looks outlined pretty well. This looks like it's going to be a little bit of a darker blue bleeding into that white and gray sky right there. This is going to be that lavender. And then here we have green, here we have green, and here we have green. So I'm going to go ahead and outline all of that. That's going to be lavender, I believe. All right, so we're going to outline all of this. And like I say, if we put this green down, then later, if there are darker shades of green in here, we can come back and just shade where, add a darker green and shade where we want that to be. So see, all this is going to be green. That little splotch right there is going to be that lavender color. This is this coming over the roof here. Okay, so there we go. We've got this little bit. That might be lavender. I think that's going to be lavender. All of this little bit right here and right here. Right here and right here. All that will be lavender. So now we got this huge space that we can color. Fill this in. Getting this filled in nicely. But anyway, I had a lot of grading to do last week, and I still have some that I'll be doing this weekend. I had some makeup tests that came in, and so I'll be looking at those after a while and making sure that they get their paper graded so that they get revision comments, and so once they get revision comments, then they have 7 days to do the revision. I like to do it that way because it only takes about 2 hours to revise these papers. But if they have 7 days, then I know usually they'll have at least a 2-day break somewhere in that 7 days, because I don't know what all of their schedules are. And so one of my students might have his or her break on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then I might have a student who has his or her break on Saturdays and Sundays. And if I give a 7-day window in there for them to have time to revise. Then somewhere within that 7 days, everybody has, or usually has, the majority, I'll say the majority, usually has a 2-day break that they can just work on this revision. And let me tell you, they really do a great job with these revisions. When they're done revising these, they usually have anywhere from an 85 to a 98 on these. So that really boosts their grades because this grade goes in at a much more highly rated grade. Now the revisions, because there are very few errors once they revise, these take me very little time to grade. I'd say probably maybe 5 to 10 minutes a piece, as opposed to the initial one that I grade, which, like I said, they can take 30 minutes to an hour to grade on those. It's just according to how many markings I have to make and comments I have to make to help the student to know what should be revised. And what this does is it just allows the student to review these errors, and possibly in future papers, because they've reviewed it, they know what those errors are, they've already been shown what they are, and so this gives them the opportunity to review those and just start eliminating those out of their own writing. Okay, I need to step away for just a minute. I left something on the stove and I want to make sure that that does not burn, so I will be right back. Okay, so you can see that's working in nicely. We've got a lot of color going on in here, which is what we want. So I did Tex-Mex today with my cooking. I'm part Spanish. I'm actually part a lot of things. My daughter does Ancestry.com and some other different ancestry sites, and so she did all of ours. And found out that we're part Spanish, part French, part Italian, part Asian, part British, so about 5 or 6 different ethnicities. I guess representing the melting pot of many different cultures. So we like a big variety of food, and I don't know if that comes from, you know, the different mixes in our own DNA. And so sometimes I cook, you know, the Tex-Mex food. Sometimes I cook French. I wouldn't call them cuisines, but my form of French food. And we're part Italian too, so I cook a lot of Italian foods. We love a lot of tomatoey foods. Lots of foods with tomatoes in them. We love Rotel, the original Rotel. It spices everything up. So today I did the refried beans with the taco seasoning pack. We have to get the gluten-free because my daughter's gluten-free. So I did that, and then I did red, yellow, orange, and green peppers with onions stir fry. And I put a lot of cumin. I guess I said that right. Cumin. I put a lot of cumin in that. That gives it a little bit, to me, a little bit of a meaty flavor. And then I did a Tex-Mex rice with the rest of the taco seasoning, a can of corn, a can of black beans, salt and pepper, of course, garlic salt, garlic powder. What else did I put in that? I used brown rice. Okay, let me see what color is right here. So I have this green. This is the roof. This is going to be white. It looks like all of this is green too. So I may have to come in here and just add some gradations of green so that we can have that. Have that like that. And then what we'll do is we'll do some kind of wrap with the bean dip. And then we'll put the peppers on top, and like feta cheese. We'll put onions, lettuce, and guacamole. We like the Walmart guacamole. It's so good. We don't even have to make it. It's just so good. We just get theirs. And I'm not doing a lot of like ground beef or meat or anything like that right now. I was really not doing well a while back with my triglycerides and health and all those kinds of things, probably about 7 weeks ago. And so I started the Mediterranean diet with a little bit of fish here and there, a little bit of salmon, not any chicken yet, not any kind of meat. And so I've actually been able to lose 21 pounds doing that in just 7 weeks. And I'm gonna have a lot more to go, but that's okay. I'm working with this, and mainly because of my health. My triglycerides were 800. I've heard of 400. I've heard of 500, and mine have never been over 300. But I was following this person who was promoting eating, I don't necessarily want to say keto, but I think it was the keto diet. Lots of meat, more fat, and those kinds of things. And I did that for about a year. And folks, it really was not good for me. It really has affected my health. So doing the Mediterranean diet has really, it's really showing progress. So if you're having problems like that, not being able to lose weight, high blood pressure, I'm on 3 different blood pressure medicines, but high blood pressure, high triglycerides, and all these kinds of things, try the Mediterranean diet. It is just working so well. And of all the foods that I don't have anymore, I've added so many more that I can have. So it makes a big difference. But I quit with all butter, things like mayonnaise, any kind of fried food or oils, sugar, cakes, candies, anything like that. I don't have it anymore. And but I have some really great substitutes for these different foods. Tasty, very tasty foods, actually. All right, so now I'm looking for some more green to color. And I know I have a lot of green over here, but I need to figure out where these different markings are, because I don't want to color, you know, any of my flowers green when they should be like, this is red. This is going to be, there's going to be some orange flowers up in here. We've got the lavender flowers here, a tangerine, yellow, orange in here, and a pink in here. So I want to make sure that I'm getting those colors in right and not coloring anything green that should be a flower color. It looks like here at the base of this tree, it looks like this is this. So I'm going to go ahead and color that in. I might come back and color it darker later. This is just how you do this when you have like very detailed, specific drawings like this. And some people don't choose to color these. They don't like these because of that. But I thrive on coloring these more detailed pieces like this. And so it probably maybe takes longer. I don't know. Maybe it takes longer to even figure out where everything goes. But I'm okay with that. The product is so pretty when you're done. And like I say, I don't mind the extreme detail. In fact, I love it. Yeah, this I will have to come in and color over with maybe some darker greens. Looks like this gets all dark in here. All right, let's see what's going on here. I've got a little bit of, okay, this is the walkway here. I've got some lavender flowers here. And it looks like I've got this green all in here. Like I say, I'll have to come back and darken some of this in some places to give it that depth that you kind of want in here. I'm going to go around this because this is going to be my little flower section there. Don't want to get rid of the flowers. I'm going to go outside today and work in my son's memorial garden. I didn't do a lot out there this summer. It was so hot this summer. But now that it's fall, I can get out there and do some little things out there to make it prettier. And I didn't get to watch the hummingbirds as much this year. It was just so hot. I could not get out there. Okay, it looks like all of this is kind of green too. All of this is green. We are just filling in so much of this. I mean, it's just such therapy. I might even get like a memorial bench to put out there in my son's memorial garden here. You know, I told you last week that we have placed one at the college where he did research and taught math classes. And so guess what? I am running out of ink here. That'll be good though, because I can show you how to get more. How and where we get more of this ink. I still have a little bit. I'm just going to color until I don't have any. Look at all of that green. I can see why green used to be my favorite color. It's just so beautiful. The color of life. Page full of chlorophyll in life. it's really ironic, but after my baby brother passed away, I told you I was a lot older. My middle brother and I were a lot older than my baby brother. And so after he passed away, my mother, she brought a plant to me from, several plants actually, from his grave. And I was so hurt over losing him that I almost felt mortified for whatever reason for having received the plant. I know, when we're going through that, nothing we do makes sense. And so I said, Mom, that I don't really do anything with plants. So, why would you bring this? I don't want to not be able to make it live, And I'd prayed so hard that my brother would live, and when he didn't, it affected me. It affected everything about me and the way that I thought and all of it. And so, that plant sat around there, and I would look at it off and on wondering, now what am I going to do with this thing? Because I'm just not a plant person. I'm just not a person that knows how to take care of plants and help them live. And so I kept looking at it and looking at it. So finally I took it outside, and I think I had a spoon. I don't even think I had a garden tool. I think I just had a spoon. And I started digging a hole to put the plant in. And so I planted it, and I'd water it here and there, and started seeing it thrive. And so the next thing I knew, I had planted, I don't know what it was I planted, but I had planted something else. And then one thing led to another, and I was down at the local nursery and down there buying like 15, 20 azaleas to plant in the yard. So I went down there and got those and planted those in the yard, and they were thriving. And my mother-in-law at that time, she had a brick house in front of our little mobile home that we had. And so she had already planted, she had a ravine back there. And this is where Ashley kept riding the horses up and down, or the Palomino up and down that ravine that day. And so she had all kinds of plants back there. She had old world plants like Sweet Williams and daisies and those kinds of things. And so she let me go down there and get some of those, because those are perennials. They just plant them one time and they just keep coming back everywhere. And so I got some of those and planted in the yard. And then I believe she bought these. She bought some dahlias, and she didn't realize it, and I didn't realize it either, but she had taken the little tiny ones and she had given me the dinner plate ones. And so for years we could not figure out, once those things came up and started blooming, we could not figure out why her little plants were only like 2 feet tall, and then my dahlias were as big as dinner plates and were about 8 feet tall. And so she was always complaining, because she says, I don't know what in the world has happened to my dahlias. With my dahlias, she says, I bought the things, and my dahlias are only 2 feet tall, and there your dahlias are over 8 feet tall. And what I found out later, I don't know if we ever found out together, but what I found out later was that we had there are different types of dahlias. There are dinner plate dahlias, and then there are other dwarf-sized dahlias. And so luckily, I had gotten the ones that were the dinner plate dahlias, and I mean, they were so beautiful. And then I planted some Cherokee roses. And if you want a beautiful show of flowers than plant Cherokee roses. I mean, they are so pretty. Now, I will tell you that one reason why a lot of people do not like to plant them is because they are a vine type flower, and they are well known for taking over everything. But you know, if you can handle that and keep them from doing that, they are just astronomically beautiful. And so that's one of the things that I want to do, is to kind of get out today and, you know, work in my son's memorial garden. And I may even look and see if I can find a beautiful memorial bench to put out there so that I can sit out there. And you know, you sit out there and you reminisce about the person that's just not here anymore, and how you wish they were. And you do, when you have those things, you do feel closer to them. You just do. But a lot of those plants that that I was planting too, some of those plants came from my mother, who has a green thumb. I mean, anything she touches grows. And so she has this green thumb. And so a lot of the plants that I was planting came from her, and they came from my grandfather, who was a Southern Baptist minister. They came from him. And so some of those plants that I had planted at that other place that we lived, behind my mother-in-law, who has unfortunately passed. But anyway, those very plants came from my grandfather, and some of those plants are planted in this house that I live in now, that I bought from my mother about 12 years ago actually. And so everywhere we've gone, those plants, since they are perennials, are pretty much still where we planted them, but they're here also too. They're everywhere we are. My Aunt Sally, who lives in the Deep South, also has a lot of those plants in her yard. Now, some things that I would like to add to this yard, I would like to have some fruit trees. You know, I don't have any of those. And at my age, I'm not even sure I would ever live long enough to see them bear fruit. But my daughter will. My daughter will inherit this house that I live in. And then the house that my baby son lives in, his father and I made arrangements for him to be able to refinance that house. And, you know, we gave him our equity and all of that kind of thing. And so that will be his, or that is his actually now. And he has all kinds of trees in his yard. I don't think he has fruit trees though. He does have a fig tree, to be envied, let me tell you, to be envied. That fig tree has produced and produced and produced. When I lived there, I would use the figs to make a strawberry jam preserve. And all you do is you take the figs and you use, and their recipes, you'll have to look up a recipe because I don't know the whole recipe, but you use strawberry jello and mix those figs in with it. And the strawberry jello takes on the flavor, the figs take on the flavor of the strawberry jello. Okay, so here we are filling this in. Lots and lots of green here. Okay. I don't know how much more of this is that I'm going to be able to fill in until I actually add some of these flowers so I can make stronger choices here. This, like I said, is the lavender tree. So that's lavender. This is a darker lavender in the tree. All of this is green, but these look like lighter greens to me than what I have maybe here. This is kind of that dark lavender, but I think right now what I need to do is to look for maybe a brown and start maybe filling in some of this tree. So I have a G37 here, I have a G36, and I kind of like, what is this one? This is a G37, which is that one, and I think this is the one I kind of like for this. So I think I'm going to start filling in my tree trunks just so I can get another perspective here. Oops. All right, so let me color all around here. Get these tree trunks filled in. You might can hear my gospel music playing in there. I have a station here called 88.3. Oh my God, it's so good. Such a good station to listen to. It plays on an old radio that my dad had. My dad's been gone now, mind you, since 2004, I believe. 3 or 4. I'll have to, you guys, 3 or 4. And so that's 20 years. And this radio, we have it in our bathroom. It plays day and night on this gospel station that we listen to. And on that radio that is 20 years old that I got from my dad after he passed away, I brought that here. And it still plays. Playing that station actually transformed my life a lot. When my baby brother passed away, and I had prayed so hard for him to live, and he didn't, it changed the way I thought about my faith. And so at that time, because that happened, in order to still have faith in God, I became what is known as a deist. And it's still based in Christianity, but it's just a philosophy that people who are deists, and Benjamin Franklin was a deist, people who are deists believe that God sets the world in motion, and that when he sets the world in motion, he expects you to live your life on your good God-given logic. And he's not necessarily going to intervene and change things for you. And so that was basically how I believed for most of my life up until about 12 years ago. And my daughter came down with Lyme disease. And so when she came down with Lyme disease, and I was begging God not to take her because she got down so small. And she's like 5, 6, or 7 and weighed like 90 pounds. And I mean, I was afraid. I was going to lose her to this. And so I prayed and prayed and prayed. And you know, God didn't take her. She's still here with me, helps me so much, and runs her own little ministry. But during that time, I believe she's the one that did it. She went back there. I believe she's the one that did this. She went back there and she put on the station 88.3. And so we, you know, would listen to it in the bathroom, and you can hear it some throughout the house in different parts of the house. And so we listened to it. And so the next thing I knew, when I was in my car, because, you know, I was always a big sort of rock and roll music lover, love music, all those kinds of things. I love all music. I play the guitar, the accordion, the keyboard, and those kinds of things. So I love all music. And but during that time, the only thing that I listened to was secular music. And so I got in my car one day, and you know, just fallen in love with this radio station that played all of these wonderful singers like Brandon Heath, Natalie Grant. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Casting Crowns, the Newsboys, and all these different famous Christian singers. And so I got in my car, and all my stations were playing to secular music. And I said, well, I'll just go ahead and change this one channel. I said, just one. I'm going to put one of these channels on 88.3. And so I did. And then the next thing I knew, I had all of my channels on 88.3. It was all I wanted to listen to. And not that that's all I listen to now. I listen to a lot of other music too, but I listen to 88.3 a lot. And it transformed my life. I wound up at that time rededicating my life to Christ, and realizing that all those years that I believed that God didn't help us through the life things that we go through, that I had basically orphaned myself from God. Even though I still believed in him, I had orphaned myself from him, believing that he didn't help me with anything, that I had to do it on my own. That is a hard way to live, folks. It is a hard way to live. And I lived it all those years just thinking it was just me and my ability to get through my own life without the help of him and without the help of anyone else. And when you live life like that, that's a long, hard life to live. So, you know, my suggestion is let God help you where he can. You know, every miracle, you're not going to have everything turn into a miracle. It's nice when it does, but God has his reasons for doing the things that he does in people's lives. And we may not always know what they are, but if we just trust that God has his reasons, and that we may not know what those reasons are, but that he will help us through whatever those situations are that we go through in life, our life will be so much better. It's like my son. I don't know why my son's not here anymore, but even though I've had people sort of lead me in the direction of questioning God, I'm not going to question God's motive for my son not being here anymore. I'm just going to trust that my son is in a beautiful place. I've dreamed of him. I've seen him in this place, heaven. And every time I've seen him, he has always told me, or I've been able to see, that he is happy. He's happy, and he's living in the next room of his life. And one day I will be there with them. And I will be living my best life at that point too. And so when we know that, when we trust in that, when we have faith in that, even though we miss that person, we won't ever quit missing our loved ones. It just helps us to be able to get through the things that we need to get through in life. All right, so you can see how pretty this brown made these trees. I mean, you can tell now what's happening there, and this will help me to be able to color the rest of this green in, as well as this lavender. So it's been nice coloring with you today, and we will come back and we will start working on another section of this particular Kincaid. We might go ahead and do this lavender in this lavender tree where we have the light lavender and the dark lavender, and then that will help take us and progress us into this area of these trees and the different color greens that we'll need to complete this. So thank you for coloring with me today, and you take care and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.